What's up, Nitro gang? This is going to be another follow-up to the rare Kyosho RB7 Red Bull. Now, for those of you that are joining as a follow-up from yesterday's stream, you pretty much know the problems. For those of us just joining, just to check out what a hybrid here has on the table, I'm going to do a little recap for you guys. Don't worry, because guess what? I was up quite late last night. And as you could tell, we have ourselves parts all over, exhaust in hands, fuel line in the chassis, air filters in the back. Hybrid only got about 3 hours of sleep tonight, guys, okay? In order to make this Kyosho great again. But let me say hello to everyone that is here, and we will continue. We got Dana, how you doing? Wonderbread, J3 Hobbies, Barn Cat, James RCZ, Nitro Queen, Melissa, Satan's Rage, Lotus RC, how you doing? Johnny, Tarek Curry, my good buddy, and Ben Martinez, one of my best friends in real life. WBLRC, how you doing? Zach Conway, and the rest of you, I think, will be piling up. Now, my dudes, I'll cover today's video in a little bit because actually, when the Nitro weekend goes down, my hands are often busy. Sometimes you gotta choose Icebreaker Sours or Icebreakers Duo. Which one do you think it's gonna be? Nitro Pimp, how you doing, man? Happy Saturday to you as well. Which of these would you prefer? Get it in the mail, get them in your mouth. They're delicious. Trust me, I love icebreakers. I'm gonna leave them here to motivate myself a little bit. Let me see what you guys are saying. And bros, I am going to continue. Now, I know yesterday the one main issue we discovered was the leaking Kyosho muffler. Well, you saw me open it up, but you did not see me close it back up. But I have sealed it. Trust me, it's sealed real well. We're going to do a little bit of a blow-by test. Not really a blow-by test because that's a term they use in automotive repair, right? The blow-by test. Josh, how you doing there, Josh? I'm quite confident. You know, I've seen a lot of Rayman Ray repairs, a lot of different automotive channels. The blow-by test, I think that's when you inject smoke into the cylinders, right? And you're waiting to see where smoke will come out, usually to check the evap system. Correct me if I am wrong. James, let me respond to your comment here, man. I appreciate you guys chiming in. Charles Ruiz, my good longtime friend, how you doing? A person that has many sickening nitros as well, and great political beliefs to go along with them. Correct and true ones, that is. All right, so James goes, my HPI MT2 has broken. Well, before I start doing a bit of a repair here, James, man, tell us what the problem is with your Nitro MT2. Because I can guarantee you I have like two of them within about 5 feet from me right now. It's Ricky Rack, how you doing, bro? Happy Saturday to you and everybody. All right, so I guess I was wrong in the blow-by test. Lotus goes, the blow-by is how long will your cylinder hold pressure. That is true. What test was I talking about? I was watching some video where they were basically using smoke machine to see where you have an evap leak. Usually it's like at the somewhere by the fuel tank. Either way, I'm not an automotive repairman. I just drive a Lincoln LS and burn nitro. Melissa, do we have audio? All right, audio is good. I just checked. Anyway, guys, I know yesterday I said I was going to go and put the tires on my Lincoln. I called 2 automotive repair shops. These people just literally the world's worst shops. They don't want to put tires on cars. You know, guys, I literally left a few of them bad reviews on Google. Okay, did I tell you the story of one time I went to this repair station and they literally told me everybody was on lunch? That's right, the entire shop was on lunch. They didn't ask me to wait. They didn't ask me to come back. They literally looked up from their desk and said, everybody's on lunch. And I said, okay, I will give you a real bad review. And guess what? My Google review is making its rounds. All right, we got Shane. How you doing from South Wales, UK? Rock and Roller, how you doing? You guys want me to find my Google review? I could probably find it. Yeah, they told me their entire shop was on lunch. Today, they literally said they got no time to put tires on. I literally have the tires in the car. I guess I'm going to have to go during the week or something. I mean, I don't understand what the big deal is. It's literally probably like a 10-minute job per tire. Anyway, let me see what we got going on. By the way, if you guys haven't had a chance to check out today's part 2 video on the Mini X-Ray, I highly recommend you check it out. So in today's video, it was a runner, but of course, there was a leak. So the leak repair, diagnosis, analysis, that will be part 3, guys. Okay? Part 3, because this is like the Nitro cinema. It never ends. It just keeps on rolling. Bob's RC, man, happy Saturday to you. Hope you are doing well. I know Bob's RC is working on something real epic right now as usual. If you guys don't know, Bob's RC does have a sickeningly interesting YouTube channel as well with detailed repairs. Robert Jones, what's up, man? Well, I got commercials on my end. Give me a second. All right, so we're going to come together. We'll choose a side later on, left or right. But personally, the Duo is sickening. The Sours is also sickening. But honestly, if you eat like 10 of these at one time, your tongue is going to hurt. All right? Tongue lives, they matter. Especially if you play for the other side. If you play for the correct side, then, you know, tongue lives are important, but not as much, really. You know what I'm saying? AOC would not condone that statement. But guess what? AOC does not live here. All right, so I'm going to pull up the car. We'll do a little bit of a discussion on what we got going on. Mark, how you doing there, Mark? So last night, removed the exhaust. So this is a pretty real bad flow design. Honestly, some of the worst flow I've ever seen. We got 90-degree angles up the AOC wazoo. All right, let me see what people are saying here. James goes, so the part that broke in the MT2 is where the glow plug goes in the engine. All right, so before I talk about this, you know, I do like to take a couple awesome questions from the audience. So what engine do you have, my friend? What engine do you got? All right, so channel viewer, Sinner1, how you doing there, bro? Okay, James goes a T15. Now let me just basically get every single HPI generation engine I have, and we'll do a little bit of analysis, right? Okay, so here I have basically in line, before I do the Kyosho RB7, we already know it's a runner. The question is, we have a viewer with a Nitro tragedy. And that is not something I could easily just let happen. Because a Nitro tragedy can be fixed. AOC's brain and victim status, impossible to fix. James, how you doing there? James Simroth, happy to see you, man. All right, so we have the very first generation 15FE. Then we have the T15 and we have the T3.0. These are essentially mainly the types of engines that you get in this HPI small block chassis. Let me wait a little while. It looks like we're a little bit low on viewership. But bros, I don't do this for the numbers. Whether we got 12 or 8 million, Nitros are going to be made great again regardless. Now, of course, my goal is to spread the sphere of influence and to encourage other people to do the same thing I am doing, which is make Nitro great again one way or another. And the best way to do that, well, you got to get them viewers. You got to make them videos. And that is one thing that I know our good friend Nitro Pimp agrees with. All right, so it looks like our viewer is saying he has a problem. This is the T15. Earl, how you doing, man? So the situation is the viewer says the part where the glow plug goes into. So the T15, Leghorn, Foghorn, how you doing, man? Happy Saturday to you. So these engines have a head button, right? This is the head. On the bottom, you have a head button. The glow plug goes directly into the head button. What you need, it appears that you have a stripped head button. So you're going to need a head button. So find yourself the part for the head button and the exploded parts view. That is likely going to be your only fix. If it's stripped, likely it's that head button. One of the mistakes people make is they really over tighten the glow plug to the point where honestly it strips, right? That copper washer that's installed does a good enough job where you really don't need to go crazy on the tightening. Could our awesome viewer here in the chat confirm if that is the issue? And I will move on. All right, James goes, I cannot get it easily here in the UK. What I recommend you do, so you have a couple options, right? Let's say you find yourself in a situation where you have a country full of bad politicians. That's kind of all of us here right now. But also, you have a Nitro with a bad head button, right? Your only way to really make whatever car you're running, Michael, how you doing there? Michael Sucha. We got Soul Reactivator, what's going on? He goes, local hobby store selling Nitro, only selling electrics. Stop selling Nitro, only selling electrics. Yeah, that's basically how it's going to go, bro. But you know, to be honest with you, we can't blame the hobby stores for doing that. You know, in our hobby, we've all heard, you know, support your local hobby store. And I'm all for that. I am all for that. One of the top hobby stores I do support is WeRRC, great channel member and person that owns the entire chain. Hopefully he shows up later today. But when I went to his store, he was supporting Nitro and gas and electric, which is very fair, right? But yes, most other stores today, they have literally went 100% E-word. E-word. A term first developed by Bodagel. E-word. You know why he said it? Boosted, how you doing there, Boosted, bro? Did you check out part 2 today on your X-ray mini video? It's a runner. It actually got fixed after that, so trust me, it ran better after that. But our good buddy, Bodagel John, the godfather of high-temperature break-ins and fit-scale RCs, would refuse to say electric. Therefore, he said E-word. And I think we might have to follow his lead going forward. What do you guys think about that? Regardless, I'm sorry about, either way, your only direct fit engine will be, this is a G3.0, you need a T3.0. You know, the problem is, if you have even a tiny little issue with modern engines, they're really not making any engines of this kind anymore. Sorry, my bad, guys. My tongue is in a twist. RC Nitro Flux, how you doing? I can't seem to find a T3.0. Let me find the T3.0. RC Nitro Flux, guys, also a sickening channel. You know what I'm going to do? We're going to have to add his link because, my dudes, RC Nitro Flux over here just recently built a big block Slayer. All right, so I'm going to give you all the link to his sickening channel. Go sub up. He produces content way more frequently than I do. And on a huge variety of models, guys. Him and I have been watching each other's channels for probably close to a decade. And I can honestly say, I am happy that neither of us will ever stop. You know what I'm saying? Canon Stuff, how you doing, man? Ain't nothing wrong with the E-words. The problem is you gotta have a giant ratio of Nitro to E-words. Big Boys Toys, what's going on, man? I know Big Boys Toys has a great ratio of Nitro to electric, and that's fantastic. I'm curious if you guys want to see me dig up a T3.0. Maybe we could get a little discussion going, but I technically have to start working on this Kyosho. Okay, so trouble is, can't find the T3.0. Hopefully I've at least given some moderate guidance to our awesome channel viewer, James. But James, it sounds like your head button is stripped, right? The plug goes directly into this part that's under the cooling head called the head button. You need that exact part. Your only other option would be to find like a junk motor and to get the head button from that. But these motors like the T15, they honestly were not made for that long of a time. So there really aren't that many of these on the used market. Hughes Hobbies, how you doing, man? Happy to see you here. All right. But yes, you know, from depending where you are in the world, obviously these engines could be a little rarer. If you guys want, I could take a quick look for one of these on eBay. If you want, I mean, I could open up a tab and take a look. You want old hybrid here? Matt Stevens, how you doing? Let me take a quick look while we're here. Well, keep in mind, this is basically the search results for, like, America. So the search results are going to be a little bit different, you know, elsewhere. But not a bad idea to get, like, a junk one. Sometimes they have usable parts. Well, if my internet overloads over here. HPI T15. Let me just take a look so we all kind of know where we stand. And then we will continue. All right. So for American viewers, I'm going to show you. Let me just, I have like a couple things over here. Let me put on the table. All right. American or not, I mean, basically all these parts could be ordered from, you know, worldwide. But just for our curiosity purposes, here's like a T15 parts engine, right? Let's take a look at it. I mean, I don't know. I don't need one personally. We're just taking a look for you. All right. So you know, without looking at really anything else, I could already tell this is like the world's jankiest one. Let's take a little examinatory look at it. Examinatory is not a word. Don't repeat it. Okay. So throttle arm is not from this correct carb. So obviously this carb has had a really hard life. So first thing I noticed, the throttle arm is incorrect. That appears to be from like a VX engine. In the rear end, we have a hole cut through the rotor start. That's not normal, really. On the side, I could tell, holy moly, my dudes. This is probably completely toast. That high-speed needle is turned in farther than some people's, well, ability to observe reality, mainly AOC. Also, this is a little bit too turned in. Crankshaft looks normal from the front. Yeah, same thing, basically. So this, to me, would be kind of a junk engine. I'm not really going to read much else about it, but that's kind of like what it is. If you guys want, I could take a look at some other available options we got. All right, so next up, carb alone's pretty up there. So you need the head button. So this is the head, cylinder head sometimes it's called. All right, here we go. Nitro Star T15 head button. I mean, this price is kind of crazy. Right, you could probably find a cheaper one. But if you want, take a note at the part number right there. That will be your part number. The head button. All right, guys. Let's get back to making a Nitro great again. KP, man, how you doing? He goes, Nitro gives you wings. It's beyond sickening. That is true. That is true. Well, let me get rid of these. And we'll do a little check of what I've done so far. Ray Coral, thank you, man. Appreciate that. He goes, hello, Hybrid and the Nitro Gang. Welcome, man. This is going to be an update from yesterday. So I was up pretty late, moving things around, getting them in, getting them out, and cleaning. The exhaust has been sealed, right? So there was a good comment here earlier about, having the ability to make, I think Dana, our awesome channel member, said he has the ability to make O-rings. So this really wasn't a typical O-ring. This was more of like a kind of a square gasket. So O-ring really wasn't an option here. What I did is used the correct silicone as suggested by our awesome channel mod, Lotus RC. If you guys want, go to Lotus RC's channel, ask him what silicone, he will tell you. But so far, this copper silicone has worked pretty much beautifully on every single exhaust repair so far. Now, before, when I removed this, I tested it by simply blocking both ports and blowing through the fuel line. And there was a really, really obvious leak coming from all around. Even with the screws really, really tight, there's still an obvious leak. Currently, zero leak. Zero leak, baby. So the silicone that we have in here is rated for 700 degrees. Very, very good. Wouldn't survive a blast furnace, but it's very, very good. All right? Just don't put it in a blast furnace. I've been watching videos about blast furnaces. Don't ask me why. Some people like to watch ocean waves as they go to sleep. Some people like to watch Jerry Springer before bedtime. I like to watch industrial processes. You guys understand what I'm saying? Last night I was also watching keyboards being made. Anybody here watch keyboards being made? Expand your horizons. Watch keyboards being made. All right, let's put this chassis on the ground, table rather, and get to work on it. So, updates. Lotus goes, ever watch Forged in Fire? No, I have not. I have heard of it. All aspects, man. Happy Saturday to you. How you doing? I know all aspects out there is building some nice projects as we speak. We got Only RC Nitros. How you doing, man? He goes, he has 5 XTM 24.7 engines. That is a great amount of engines to have. 5, it's perfect because you can run 4 and look at 1. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get it done. Anyway, let us continue, guys. I've also tested each individual component separately. Ray Coral goes, his dad worked in a blast furnace for 35 years. Wow. That is impressive. I was watching a video on, I think the heaviest, no. Well, blast furnace or not, it's pretty impressive videos when you watch them. I'll tell you that. I don't know if I could do that. But, of course, my mission is to make Nitro great again, so, Oh, Soul Reactivator goes, I was watching smelting last night. You can't beat a good smelter, bro. Especially a nice little smelt ham and cheese. Kidding around. You know what I'm talking about. All right. Anyway, fuel tank. Let's take a look. It's actually literally the world's most basic fuel tank. I was highly surprised just by how basic it is. It doesn't even have a built-in filter at the bottom. So, a couple people left some comments and, I got to thinking about it. Who was this F1 model really for? So maybe we could have a little bit of a discussion on this one. It's not a bad idea, right? I don't want you guys to think that just because this was a $2,000 model means it's literally the best. It doesn't mean that. On this channel, I say things as they are. ANP Racing, what's going on? This was a Nitro for people that like the modeling. People spend thousands of dollars on model ships. For instance, building like replicas of Titanic, building replicas of the Mayflower, historic ships rather. This was essentially Kyosho's bottom of the barrel Nitro components with a highly detailed, realistic frame and chassis. That's kind of like how I would look at it. Don't look at it as a high-performance Nitro. Some people were asking, how fast are these? You're really going to almost never find a video of these going really ever top speed because they are close to undrivable, right? But yes, model trains, stuff like that, that's a hobby where you're looking for scale realism. People like building. So, safe to say, a lot of the actual drivetrain componentry on this chassis is real garbage. Like, we're talking real bad suspension, crazy use of basically cheap-looking plastic everywhere. This plastic doesn't even look as good as, like, a regular old HPI. It's shiny, it's kind of whack-looking. Engine is a basic .21. Cooling head, I mean, it's dope, right? It's dope, but it's a pretty basic setup when it comes to Nitro. But that is okay. This is a modeler's dream. People that love modeling stuff, they don't mind taking months, years to build their subjects, right? So this is kind of like one of those items. They weren't going for high flow exhaust. They were going for, let's get a good looking rear exhaust and make it just work. And this kind of setup, I mean, it's not bad looking and it does work, right? So one of the things keep in mind, you know, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just an understanding of what it is, right? I know there's some people out there that completely destroyed these in videos. I'm not going to name who, but you guys can feel free to say who it was, you know, just for the clickbait dumbass content. But the truth is, these cars were not meant to perform, let's say, like any of these. If you want something that will survive a bashing, get yourself a T-Max or a Savage or an LST or pretty much any Nitro Monster truck, right? This is a modeling dream. A car that you build over 2 years and spend about $2K doing. But at the end of the day, those people probably don't even know how to start a Nitro engine. Let's be honest with us. All right. Anyway, let us continue. So first thing I want to do, we're going to check the electronics and I'll install all of this stuff back on. I have some new fuel line. I'll explain why. By the way, I do want to point this out. Take a look at the bottom of this tank. That appears to be like a bit of a silicone. I don't know if this is something that the prior owner did or if the manual said to do this. It's actually not a bad idea. Usually the fuel pickup sits all the way in the bottom and we know that it rubs a lot. So a little bit of protection right here. I mean, it's old, right? But that's kind of how it's no fuel filter, which is pretty bad design, really. Other than that, really world's most basic, extremely basic fuel tank. I can't even say any more words other than basic. Anyway, let's check the electronics. So I've installed pretty much the only radio receiver I had is just a GT3B. I am doing away with the GT3B system as we speak, just because the GT5 is a way better remote. Now the power switch, if you guys were watching yesterday, is all the way on the bottom. Real garbage design, all the way on the bottom power switch. Have you ever thought of that? Like, you know, just another example of, you know, this car wasn't really meant to be a top speed runner. It's just one of those where, you know, hey, it's a collaboration with Kyosho, but we at least got to make it turn on. So power switch on the bottom. Beyond silly sickening in this, really. All right, so servo's pretty basic, real slow in my opinion. Probably their bottom of the barrel servo, right? Yeah, it's pretty much perfect design for a runaway. Throttle servo, once again, pretty basic. It moves. The brakes are good, I checked. We have to actually put the drivetrain in, right? So electronics at least work. James Duranto, man, thank you for that. Appreciate that donation to the channel. By the way, guys, I got sad news to report and also good news to report. So special thanks to James Duranto. That HPI Baja from yesterday, I did not get it. But I want you guys to know, I used that money and today's money to pick up another Nitro today. Now, I'm not going to give away what Nitro it is. There's only one person currently in this stream that knows what it is. But my dudes, I'm going to give you one little hint. The Nitro that I bought today has an OS 18 CVR non-pull start in it. You think that's a great deal? Let me tell you something about OS engines. Usually never dead. So unfortunately, I didn't pick up that Baja from last night, but, you know, like I always say, there's always going to be another one. Hopefully sooner or later. Never get stuck on just one chassis. Shop around, and if your goal is to make Nitro great again, you can't go wrong by picking up something else. So, the chassis I got hopefully will be in the mail this week. It features a really nice OS 18 CVR. One of the last generation ones, the ones with those giant cooling heads before they went to the TM and the TZ. So Tarek guaranteed. I will let you know later on what it is. All right, let's continue, guys. So electronics are sorted. I'm going to start assembling stuff back. Oh, Rock Perry, how you doing, Rock Perry? He goes, walking to my bail box now to get the new 10E carb. OS is the best. All right, so let's take a look at the chassis, kind of like the last time before I assemble things, because, you know, low probability we're pretty much ever going to see a chassis like this again. Like I said, it's beyond basic. There's really nothing here that is like revolutionary. Suspension is real average. There's really no adjustments. Chassis, the main chassis is aluminum. These are just like plastic fairings. The electronics radio box has an okay amount of space, although I will say, guys, Nitro Racing Power, good comment. He goes, you could use a failsafe. So that radio has a failsafe. I've already got it programmed. So the failsafe, trust me, bro, I've got it programmed to apply about 60% brake. So take a look at this radio tray design. So, you know, if you're using a regular AA battery pack, like it's an oval design. I don't know why they did it to be oval. Rusty Customs, how you doing? It's honestly like a waste of space over here, right? I guess you could put the receiver on this side, but like all of the wires, they go from this direction. So like, I don't know why you would stretch the wires all the way to this side. Like they're just not long enough. So receiver radio box design, I would say, is subjectively not the best. Maybe it's like aesthetically good looking because it's not a square, but I don't know. You know, Scion XB, why were they popular? Because they're boxes and they're very efficient use of space, just like Japanese K cars. James Duranto goes, it's like a plastic serpent, except this one was about $2,000, bro. You know, oh, once again, this is like a model car. They're not really meant to be run that fast. It's a rear-wheel drive with like a really garbage open diff in the back. Like it's, you know, it's one of these cars. I was actually looking up. One tire on eBay is about $50. They sell them one tire at a time. So, you know, these are not cheap cars. But once again, these are, you gotta have expectations. You're not going to be taking these to the racetrack, you know. We got ourselves JPRC, man. How you doing? Appreciate you being here. All right, plastic spur gear brakes are like pretty much straightforward Kyosho stuff. Yeah, these cars, for those of you that don't know, I guess, let me just bring up a little bit of an image so we could all be on the same page again. I think we got a couple new viewers here today. By the way, for those of you guys in the chat right now, please don't fight. You know what I'm saying? The world is bad enough as it is. We got the Strait of Vermouth over here being closed. People worldwide paying double for fuel. But here, the Nitro gang, trust me, your goal should be to get along with each other. That's the best thing I could say. Now, I'm not going to censor people, but we should all do our best and our part to, well, not be mean to each other. John Smith, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for that. Super chat to the channel. All right, so let me show you guys, for those of you maybe that, you know, missed it yesterday. This is the car. I showed this yesterday, so I don't particularly like to repeat comments or whatever, but $2,000. So this is the car. Let me do a quickie little view on the chassis itself. I know some new viewers in here, and we'll just discuss kind of how these cars were sold, right? So as you can tell right here on the top, it had 24 manuals. So these were shipped in the mail, and each month you got parts, you assembled it, and you built it. So once again, they even had like real basic radios. It's kind of like how they were, right? The goal was, it was modeling, and they came with two bodies. The one I have is this exact one, which is the hard body. Mine's a little messed up. So normally to run it, you would have had a Lexan body, which would have reduced the weight and made it a much better runner. All right. Hughes Hobbies here from Virginia Beach. Sickening. JP's RC got 3 tanks through that green cereal. Guys, go to JP's RC's channel. Check his channel out. He does great streams, and he's a great person all around. All right. Plus, he's here representing Canada for us all. It's quite sensational knowing that we have viewers worldwide. All right, let's come back to this chassis. So now that we kind of know what it is, you know, yes, people have real high expectations of these models, but I'm going to call it what it is. These are model cars with the Nitro part is kind of secondaries, right? Let's see what you guys are saying. We got Dan and Mads RC. What's up, man? How you doing? He goes, wonder how long it took to get the full car. Glad you asked. So this took 2 years because there were about 25 different pamphlets, right? Instruction manuals. So they would ship you the parts that you needed for that particular month's build. So 2 years and you build yourself a Nitro, right? Obviously, it was a big waste of money, but it's one of those things that modeling people just love. That's kind of like how it is. You know, sometimes people build like big ass sailboats, and we all know sailboats are not even really good. You know what I mean? But they love sailboats. You know what I'm saying? So James and everybody, thank you guys for checking out the stream. I appreciate you all. And like I said, let's all attempt to get along because there's really no reason to fight. You know what I'm saying? We're adults. All right. Anyway, time to assemble. First thing, I think what I'll do is we're going to put the fuel tank back in. And I'm wondering whether I should swap this fuel line. Even the fuel line they use, Nitro Racing Power, what's going on? He goes, what type of fuel does it use? This is basically just a regular Kyosho 21 engine. So you're just using regular fuel, like 20% nitro, whatever you want. I mean, these engines will run basically on anything, you know, within reason, like that's hobby grade. You know what I mean? Like, as long as it's hobby grade, it'll run. But for my personal use, I do prefer the 20% VP nitro fuel. Only because it's a good value and it's a good blend for all-around engines. iFly65, what's up, man? He goes, he loves the F1 Tamiyas. I actually got a couple comments on those. I so far have not owned an F1 Tamiya, though. So the question of the day is, should I swap out the fuel line? Or just keep it? Notice this old fuel line. It's literally super thin, like the old HPI fuel line used to be. What do you guys say? I'm going to take a look at the chat. If you tell me to swap out the fuel line, I'll do it. But not sure if I'm going to be too happy about it. You know, it's one of those things where, yes, you want, you know, this car is never going to be like 100% original because it's obviously, you know, missing some parts. So I'm going to open up this fuel line, let it kind of unpack itself. James Durant wants to know what happened to the Bones Nitro fuel. So my understanding is they were packaging it, you know, in containers that I guess they couldn't ship. You know, there was never really a true answer. I guess we could probably look at a couple elements of suspicion here. Truth is, you see that fuel right there? That's the old Bones Brew fuel. Now, one of my viewers gave me that bottle, so I'm going to keep it for a long time. They were shipping them in plastic containers, my understanding, and I guess, obviously, you know, it's like a highly flammable item. VP fuel is shipped in metal containers. Maybe they just didn't make the leap to another container, but I suspect that Bones Brew here was buying VP fuel and just selling it cheaper, right? So why would VP allow them to buy their fuel and sell it cheaper? Because the cost was substantially cheaper for the Bones Brew. But at the end of the day, it's literally just VP methanol. So let's swap out the lines, I think, for now. Thing is, this fuel line is like real short as well. I don't really trust it. Yeah, even like the fuel outlet, look how narrow and small it is. That is actually not even a good design. That is what you call looking for trouble. I'm going to kind of clean it a little bit. Yeah. In terms of diameter, generally most fuel line is within like 50% of the same diameter, right? Now, I know if you look at these fuel lines, you know, the one I'm using on the left is much fatter. But realistically speaking, what matters is the internal diameter. Now, this one's a little stretched out. If it was a little thinner, it's basically very, very similar. Now, the Traxxas fuel line is a little bit thicker. I think they call it a medium fuel line. Let's see, this is a fuel line I have. But if you notice, it really just comes down to the overall cross-section. Yeah, Bob's RC goes, the inner diameter is what matters. Exactly. The overall cross-section is basically very, very similar regardless. So this particular fuel line, I just got it because it was like on sale, and it's called medium, and it's relatively soft. Like, it's not as tough to bend as the Traxxas line. I mean, there's a little bit bad and a little bit good when it comes to that. You know, sometimes you want a fuel line that's a little bit more, that's a little less flexible. It keeps its shape. The Traxxas fuel line is actually very good. What do you guys think about my analysis of fuel line terminology? All right, so let's cut this. Also, this top section, like, the fuel line doesn't stick too well to the tank at all. It's actually not a very good design. All right, so what I'll do, I'm going to cut it, measure, and cut a little bit longer. Let's do like over here. Have a little bit longer fuel line. I mean, you know, a lot of these things that I'm saying are basically things I've learned over time periods. But like this fuel line, it's very cheap. I got it like on A-Main a long time ago. It's okay, but you could tell the way it was folded, it's keeping like that shape pretty much no matter what you do. It's not bad, but sometimes you want a fuel line that's a little more like kind of solid, right? It doesn't bend as easily. Yeah, Melissa, what? What's wrong with it? Oh. Ha 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 ha. We got Sandy watching the live stream right now, guys. You want to check it out? I just got an email from Sandy. Holy moly, he's watching the stream as we're doing it. Check this out. This is what I call a cute kitty over here. See that? He's watching. That's Melissa right there on her computer. How you doing there, Sandy? Yo, Melissa, tell Sandy he's a good cat. Tell him we'll give him some turkey later. Sickening. He only eats boar's head, this cat. Sick. All right. That's kind of like my analogy. I will say the Traxxas fuel line is very good. The Losi fuel line is very good. At the end of the day, as long as you have no holes, that's kind of like what you want. You do not want to have any holes in the line. All right, so I cut off a normal piece. All right, it's on there pretty normal. You see, the thing is, when you have like a real small section there for where the fuel line sticks, any kind of weird bending or twisting, you could easily rip this off. That's kind of the bad part. Now, I'm wondering, the old fuel line, if this is just something the old owner did. You know what? I'm just going to keep this thing here. It doesn't really even matter. You know, a lot of this stuff is like really subjective, guys. So don't get like bent out of shape if it's not 100% how you do things. What matters most is that you have no leaks in the fuel line. That is kind of the most important thing. All right, lay back, how you doing? He goes, Dubro by the foot is what I like. You are correct. Dubro makes very, very good fuel line. In fact, I used to buy it at the hobby stores for years. Also, the fuel filters there, those metal fuel filters from Dubro, the best. Yeah, Dana goes, you gotta watch out for those leaks. All right, let's continue. Oh, we got our old classic channel viewer here. How you doing? Rock Perry goes, does length of fuel and pressure line matter? Well, it does matter. David VIP Auto, New York City, what's going on, man? Happy Saturday to you. He goes, that thing is sick. Thank you, man. We're doing a little bit of work. Yeah, this is likely the most expensive Nitro that, like, you know, obviously, well, when it was brand new, about $2,000. They're not particularly fast, but they are very, very cool. Look at that cooling head. Melissa goes to me earlier, what's up with that cooling head? Sickening. Sickening. All right. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's continue. So the question was, does the length of the back pressure line matter? Now, in all of my years of research, you generally want to have at least half the distance of your pressure line compared to your fuel line, right? Now, some people use like a 1-to-1 ratio. You know, it really doesn't, as long as you're not talking about like 10%, right? I would say you want to have about, now, you know, depending on how engines are mounted, let's say you look at a Revo, right? The Revo back pressure line is pretty short, but the fuel line is like a foot. And it seems to work okay. But to me, I would say as long as it's not, you know, like an inch or two or something, you want to have about a 50% ratio, like for my own personal experience. All right, let's continue. So I'm going to mount the tank, and we'll go further from there. Yeah, this chassis is actually kind of large. By large, I mean it's long. It's a little bit annoying to work on. All right, guys, appreciate you all showing up. Can't rest when you got a Nitro on the table, because guess what? You want to put other Nitros on the table, right? But yeah, generally, you know, some of the main issues with, let's say, fuel line, you guys are all familiar with the Savage half tank issue, the Savage XL half tank issue. So generally that happens. You could kind of mitigate the half tank lean issue by increasing your fuel line, because it kind of equalizes that pressure a little bit. There's also a little more fuel in the line. But once again, these are like really subjective things. A lot of it is based on how you run. I will admit, I think the best fuel tank, Max Boogie, how you doing, man? Appreciate you. Props to you as well, homie. Props to you. I will admit, my favorite overall truck fuel tank is going to be the Monster GT fuel tank because of the dual pickup condition, right? So if you flip over the MGT, it has a pickup that basically will pick up fuel upside down as well. Yeah, good observation here. I'm going to read this from Bob's RC. He goes, pressure line as short as possible, fuel feed line as long as you like. Just will be harder to prime. That's true. You're going to have, like, you know, obviously a condition with priming as well. Now, for me, I stick to the 2-to-1 ratio kind of like when I can. You know, obviously, if the RC has new fuel lines, I'm not going to like change the fuel line length. But if I'm making my own fuel lines, I'll usually cut like half of the line of the fuel line will be the pressure line. Also, because keep in mind, I kind of also estimate the fact that I might reuse that fuel line. So if you cut the pressure line too short, it'll work, right? It'll work, but you can't really use that on other cars really as efficiently, right? It's better to have more than to have less in that regard because of, you know, it's reusable. Yeah, AMP Racing goes, in racing, we always had a long fuel line in case we flipped. Correct, the Revo uses like over a foot. Let me see if I have a Revo here to show us. I probably have a Revo under the floor somewhere. You guys want me to go take a look at a Revo under a table? I mean, table, sorry, not floor. There's no bodies or things under floors. Let me go take a look at a Revo so we can get a little bit of understanding. Also, because I want a little walk around. All right, so here we got a Revo on the floor with parts in a bin. All right, yeah, so in this case, this one needs a lot of work. As you could tell, it's all disassembled. So my fuel line, you could tell I still have the fuel line on this. It's basically about a foot, right? If you actually look at it, starts there, goes that way. It's about a foot. And this is basically the correct line for the exhaust. So that's generally the correct setup for a Revo. Make sense? Makes sense. I don't remember what's wrong with this Revo, though. Oh, it needs an engine. That's basically what's wrong. This is the one that towed the guitar, by the way. This is the guitar tower. All right, bros, let's go back. Dana, you would be correct. But my goal here is not to wreck anything. If you want to wreck something, wreck someone's brain. Okay? And by that I mean give them some information. All right. Great question, though, from Rock Perry. I appreciate that, man. You know, every question deserves an answer. Okay, so fuel tank is in. Next thing we got to do is the engine and the exhaust and then the drivetrain. All right, so what I'll do. So the engine is basically good. If you guys want, I could take a look at the clutch inside. You want me to take a look at the clutch? Go ahead. Can I get a hell yeah for the clutch or no? It's always a good idea to check the clutch before you put anything back. Trust me. You always want to check the clutch. You don't check the clutch and then, well, you got a situation after. I kind of suspected there could have been some. Why is this turning out so weird? This screw's turning out with the entire. I kind of suspected there could be something wrong with the clutch belt. I'm sorry, with the clutch inside. So we're about to take a look and examine this monstrosity. Oh, I see what's up. Because yesterday when I fired it up, Rory, how you doing there? Rory, holler, happy Saturday to you. We're just checking out the clutch belt on this F1 Kyosho engine. Pilot nut is loose. You see right there? This was a good check. I am glad I did this. If I put that back on, it could have eventually come off. So the clutch appears to be like a regular Traxxas style, just aluminum, right? I'm not very happy with the spring setup over there. Look at that spring setup. That is like the loosest connection for a spring I've ever seen. Well, only way to find out if it, breaks or not is run it. All right, so I am glad I checked that. Hughes Hobbies, let me answer your question, Hughes Hobbies, man. He goes, can I ask on the carb setting on the MGT 8.0, what is the factory needle screws? So honestly, man, that is one of the most common questions people ask, like what the factory carb settings for any engine are. To be honest with you, the best thing you could do is not worry about it, right? Because the truth is, what matters is you get fuel through the carb. As soon as it starts, you tune from there, right? There's just so many variables that for me to tell you, go 4 turns, 3 turns, it's highly subjective. Now, what I normally do, I look at the high-speed needle, right? Like, let's say, for instance, a high-speed needle like this. It doesn't look out of the body, and it doesn't look too far deep. This is probably 4 turns out, maybe 3.5 to 4 turns. On an average engine, about 3.5 to 4 turns is where you want to start. And on the low-speed needle, about flush with whatever carb body it's sitting in is where you want to start. Now, the people here in the chat could tell, if you agree with that device. But basically, I wouldn't start counting really that much. You could kind of do it visually. As soon as it fires up, you'll know whether you need to richen it or lean it. It'll be very obvious, right? I don't really go into how many turns things are because, some engines and people's temperatures, elevations, stuff is very different. The goal is when you prime, you want to see fuel go. Okay, so what I would do, when you prime it, if you want, take a look inside. Oh, why is this one not opening? Okay, you will literally see fuel going in through here, right? You will see fuel dripping in. And what that means is your carb isn't blocked. And that's okay. Soul reactivator, yes, man, that actually did happen. That was an unfortunate event, one which I could not protect myself from because false claims were made. But you know what? I'm not here to humiliate people. So, Soul reactivator, I hope you disagree with what he did. All right, let's continue. Yeah, Dana goes high speed 3.5, low about 4, turns out flush like Hybrid said. Pretty much that is like where fuel will flow. The goal is, so a lot of the problems that people have with Nitro is literally their carb is clogged, right? Like meaning it doesn't matter what your needle settings are. If it's clogged, meaning like there's oil through the valves or something, like, you know, you should also honestly remove the needle, clean it, put it back in. Like those are like the most basic things you should always attempt to do. All right, so let's continue. Got to remove this. This is weird. Well, it's not weird. That means the screw is stuck through to the pilot nut. So that would have 100% come loose, and I would have had to remove everything again. So good thing I actually found this. Soul reactivator, thank you, man. Use hobbies, no problem, guys. You don't got to thank me. You know, I don't do this for the gratitude. I do this because I love it as much as you do. And that is honestly the main motivation of this channel. And it's always has been. All right, so we're going to remove this. We'll take a look at the bearing inside. I am glad I did this. Big Boys Toys, correct, bro. Always do your best to not get angry, to not overreact. Because believe it or not, those negative emotions are very counterproductive to human advancement. Okay, we got the pilot nut out. Let's just take a look at this part over here. I'm going to do a little zoom in for us. So we got a washer and we got a pilot nut and we got the... Oh, there's also a washer inside. Okay, so these are all the components that we have on the clutch bell assembly. I mean, typical Kyosho, this is a needle roller bearing, however you want to call it. HPI uses these. This one appears to be in fairly normal condition. I don't see any of the bearings, of the needles rather, missing. A good upgrade would be to use normal bearings on there. I don't currently have any, but good thing I checked. Otherwise, clutch bell looks to be pretty much normal, with some, I would say, average use on it. So good thing I checked that. All right, Nitro Racing Power wants to know, what does the crankshaft look like? All right, so good question. You know, this is kind of odd. Normally, big block engines have pilot shafts, right? I am actually surprised to have found a pilot nut on a standard shaft here. If you guys want, I could remove the clutch. All right, I've removed the clutch. Standard shaft. This is what you call a standard shaft. Basically, standard threaded shaft with likely a collet and the flywheel. So pretty much what this means, zero ability to modify this engine really for anything modern. That's kind of like what Kyosho does. You have to use this block, this entire system. But at least I found the problem. Rock Perry goes, so that's a pilot shaft crank or SG. So a pilot shaft, generally the terms, I'll show you what I mean by that. Give me a second here. Okay, so generally, you know, we're also discussing multiple generations of engines, so this gets a little bit hairy. Let me align this to this side. and we'll talk a little bit about crankshafts, because having the wrong length crankshaft is literally the biggest pain ever. All right, so over here we have, this is just a junk HPI engine. And over here we have a big block Savage 25 engine. Now in this case, this is called a pilot shaft, right? A pilot shaft is longer and integrates basically the screw that the clutch belt holds onto. It goes inside the pilot shaft, right? Basically all Traxxas engines are pilot shafts, you know, on the 2.5 and 3.3. The Pro 15 is not. But here, it's basically a pilot shaft also, except here we have a clutch nut. A standard shaft would be basically threaded like this. And what you're relying on, the way the system works, a standard shaft here, you're relying on the pilot nut. The end result is basically the same, right? Because you're going to end up with a screw going into here. But this is kind of like a two-piece type setup. And this is generally all .21 engines are going to be a pilot shaft like that, right? So why I bring this up is if you're shopping for engines and you get the wrong one, you're going to need like a ton of parts to make stuff fit. So it kind of is very, very relevant. Yeah, layback goes, AE uses a non-standard standard shaft for the RC10. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me show you what I mean by that. I can't seem to find it. I can't seem to find the short shaft engines. So RC10 GTs and a low C triple XNTs, they even go further than that. So for instance, this is a SH18, right? So this is our standard shaft, sometimes called SG. I use the term standard, meaning it needs something threaded onto it. Now, this is another old OS, also with a standard shaft. So it's a matter of like, you know, generations. Usually older small blocks, unless they're like race engines, are going to have these kind of shafts. Now I have another one here I could show you. I think I actually found it. I can't believe it. Oh, here we go. So regarding the low Cs and the RC10 GT, this is an OS 12 CVR. Notice the crankshaft. This is called a cut short shaft. It started out as a regular crank, but to make it fit onto an RC10 GT, you need to cut it, right? That's the only way it fits. It's basically a matter of clearance. Technically, any engine that you cut, this will be able to be mounted to an RC10 GT or a triple XNT, but you won't be able to use this really on anything else after that, right? The tolerances are kind of different. So that's kind of like what it is. This is called a cut or a short shaft. They, you know, in manuals, they would refer to this as a short shaft. But basically, the way you get a short shaft is you cut or standard shaft. And I do remember doing that myself, but I haven't done it in like a decade so far. You know, modern, if you're going to buy the RC10 GT, trust me, do yourself a favor, buy their engine, because it's going to be difficult to really find anything that fits on those chassis anymore. Yeah, so that's what's called a short shaft. All right, guys, let's continue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look for my thread lock. Don't know where it is. Where would my thread lock be? All right, so the pilot, the shaft has to be thread locked. I hope I find it. Well, so far, I didn't find it. I put the thread lock somewhere, and I don't know where it is. All right, for current purposes, I'm gonna have to proceed. Normally, I would not proceed without the thread lock, but you know, to make the show move smoothly, we're gonna have to make it happen, bros. We're gonna have to make it happen. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. So I'm gonna assemble all this back. I appreciate you guys joining in today and all the channel support. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, I'm just gonna tighten pilot shaft. I'm sorry, it's not called the pilot shaft, it's called the pilot nut. Normally you would do this by having a piston locking tool inside there, but in my case, I need to get some big ass pliers. All right, hold on. I need to get a pipe wrench. There's no other way to do this. Normally, when you tighten the pilot nut, you would take the plug out and use a piston locking tool to make sure the piston doesn't go up. I really don't want to remove the plug right now because I know it's good. Right, bros, I am back. Sorry for being gone. I am back. Good news is we got ourselves some thread lock that I trust. Keith Tolhurst, man, how you doing? Welcome back. Keith Tolhurst been a channel viewer for super long, and I think he just picked himself up a gas RC, right? Why don't you tell us what you got? Keith Tolhurst was out there during the live streaming days when I was jumping Revos on the stairs in the schoolyards. You remember those days? Those were good days. All right, so good news is found thread lock. So trust me, you always want to use thread lock on that. Oh, Keith Tolhurst got the DBXL. I need to get one of those myself. That should be fine. Good work, guys. Or what? Can Hybrid get a let's get this job done right? Hell yeah, please. Thank you. All right, so now this is going to be good. It's very, very important this is actually tight, because if this pilot nut is loose, the flywheel will just spin out. All right, so let me see if I can grab the clutch belt, the flywheel, and I'm basically just going to tighten it to some degree. I don't need it to be crazy tight. I just need it to be good enough. This will work. All right. Yeah, good comment there from Dan. He goes, you can't use the piston locking tool on turbo plug engines. That is correct as well. All right, here we go. It's good. There's no way this is coming off. It's tight. All right. That's it. Pilot nut is good. Problem is, normally I would grab the flywheel, you know, like let's say around the outside, but we have the engine plate here, so I can't really get it. I have to like kind of grab it from the side. I guess you have to grab them by the side, not in the box like like usually, you know. But if you want to see what the piston locking tool is, Hybrid over here does have one, so let me show you. I bet a lot of you guys know this already, so it's not news to you. But this is basically a piston locking tool. It has a plastic tip. It threads in through the top on standard glow plugs, meaning not turbo plugs. The goal, you're basically threading this in instead of the plug. It's preventing the piston from moving up, which locks the flywheel, and you can tighten it safely. So that's the piston locking tool. Right? I do use it a lot. This engine, I just don't want to remove the plug in this case. But so you guys know, Hybrid does have the correct tools. Okay, so far it's going along. All right, next up, I'm going to work on the clutch installation again. Personally, I would do as much as you can to avoid removing the plug if you don't 100% have to. You know, this engine is relatively new in like low run use condition, but if I go real close in there, you could still see small little pebbles, and really it's in your best interest to kind of eliminate removing the plug unnecessarily, right? Unless like the plug is dead, then you have no choice. All right. For me, that advice has basically always been great, and you guys notice I really don't kill engines often on this channel at all, because the goal is to protect the engine from getting dirt with a filter and to minimize any kind of openings, you know, dirt going in. Rusty RC Customs wants to know, Hybrid, can you show us the driver head air filter? So in this case, this one is missing that, right? So normally the driver's head air filter would be on the Lexan body. This particular one, since this is essentially like the display body, notice there's a plug right there. So this does not have the air filter tube going to the head. This is just the display. The filter on the Lexan body would actually have foam inside, and it would have a tube going through this area. So I don't actually have the correct filter for this, unfortunately. That's going to be a massive, massive catastrophe. Because these are designed, so that body right there is designed to be run with, I mean, that body only fits with the air filter off. So that's another obstacle I'm going to have to overcome in the future. Probably going to have to get some kind of very, very low, probably the Traxxas Jado filter will be the best. This is just a temporary one I have on here for just temporary protection, you know. So yeah, these cars, pretty proprietary type stuff. Let's assemble clutch components. Uh-oh, something just fell. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This is taking a little longer than normal. Hybrid getting tired. All right, stick the clutch in there. So the spring seems to be okay. Yeah, Rockberry goes, that driver has never moved. Best job in the world. That's a good comment, dude. I like it. That is pretty funny. All right, so the bevel edge goes on the outside. I would think you could probably use a Traxxas clutch on this, maybe. It seems to be a similar diameter, and the pin setup is basically the same. Maybe the thickness, this might be a little bit thicker, but really that's irrelevant. Oh, Nitro Racing Power, found it on eBay. I'll take a look later, bro. It's probably going to be hella expensive. The problem is that driver air filter you need the other body. You can't use it with that body anyway. Like somebody modified that and basically destroyed it anyway, right? So mechanically, I can get this chassis running good, but aesthetically, it's never going to be perfect. Which, you know, that's okay. No one ever said it's going to be perfect. All right. We got this stupid Kyosho giant washer they put on and everything. It's real stupid. I don't even think you need it. But you do need it for the tolerances. All right, so it spins okay. I mean, these needle bearings, they're like pretty noisy. So not really even good. But it will be correctly assembled. Not a bad idea actually to use Threadlock on this screw, but I don't think it's going to come out. It was pretty tight when I removed it, so it has. I think there's Threadlock in that pilot nut anyway. All right. Let's put the engine to the bottom. That's it. Engine assembly. Let's spin it. It spins normal, nothing crazy, and just minimal back and forth. All right, guys, now it's going to be sticking the engine in. And the fuel lines as well. I will say this chassis is very, very long. Actually, pretty annoying to handle. That's why I did a lot of the repairs off video, because, well, it's actually kind of hard to even handle it. Okay, here we go. Got to get the engine in, then I'll get the exhaust fitted. I'm wondering if I should. The question is, should I silicone this as well? That seal appears to be okay to me. What do you guys think? Silicone the seal a little bit too, or no? Big Boy's Toys, damn, that sucks. He goes, he broke the glow igniter and the charge lead. Damn it. That does happen. You know, I think you're talking about, it's one of those twist lock systems, right? Where you try to get a charger from the glow driver into it and it gets stuck, right? I know what you're talking about. All right. I would say people are saying 50-50 on the silicone. I am not 100% sure if there was a leak here, guys. That's kind of like why I am a little bit worried. All right, Melissa, can you bring that silicone on the table, please? Silicone me. Melissa. Where's she watching? One Tree Hill or something? All right, so let me see how easy this will actually be to fit. Last night I removed this with, so I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna stick this in there first, like that. I'll attach the engine. I'll do minor silicone. Thanks for that. All right, so this is what I've been using. It's real good. Obviously, if it needs a new one. It's kind of like dried up already. You need the rear exhaust thing to kind of stick through this tube. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to attach. I'm thinking of a way I could do this on video easily. That's the annoying part. I'm just doing a small test fit right now. This is not the final assembly. All right, so the engine is in. All right, so that's how the engine housing will be. I'm just trying to figure out, you see, like, there's really not much space there to work with the exhaust. So I have to pretty much, okay, no, I got it. I could rotate it before I put it in. All right, so I have enough space here to rotate it and attach it from this side. All right, so what I'll do, I'm thinking let's attach the exhaust in that position, guys. What do you agree with me? I'm looking for the bolts to the exhaust first. So here's one. I might have lost one somewhere here on the table. If I lost one, I won't be able to assemble it fully. I'll have to replace it. All right, some of the screws fell. That's why. Sickening. All right, guys, I gotta crawl around the floor for a little bit now. Lost one of the screws. It's just a basic screw, though. All right, well, I'm gonna have to find a screw now. I don't want to have to say this, but someone's gonna have to screw me right now. I know you guys are talking about people breaking cars or this car or that car. Unfortunately, that's what gets the YouTube algorithm going, you know? It's just, you know, you got to pay to play. I personally don't believe in that kind of treatment of cars in our hobby at all. I don't believe that at all. But, you know, that's the way it works. And listen, if it's your personal property, you could do whatever you want to do. It's not illegal. Do I believe that it's ethical? No, of course not. Would I do it? No, of course I wouldn't do it. But unfortunately, stuff like that is the reason why people are doing stupid pranks in social media and winding up in jail. They're motivated by bad ideas. All right, I need to get the damn screw. You know what? I could probably put the screw in later. I could probably just deal with one screw right now. It's not that big of a deal. I could always get the other screw in, right? What do you guys think? You know, the only thing we can do as viewers is not participate in it. If we don't agree with what other people are doing, the only thing you can do is not participate in it. I need to get another screw like this. It's a regular screw, but I lost it. Where did it go? You see, situations. Might be stuck to some of these parts. No, it's not stuck to some of these parts. Did it roll somewhere? All right, guys, give me a second. I have to go find some screws. I'm back. So I'm looking. This might be very close to what I need. No, this one's not even the correct thread. So worst case scenario, I'm gonna have to probably Dremel one off because these are all too long. This is basically the screw I need right here, but this one's very, very long. I might have to cut it. All right, so problem is this one's a little too long. I don't think it's gonna go into the block that well. So I have a couple options. I could either use a couple washers on it, or I can cut the screw. Let me see. What do you guys think? Should I cut it? I will say, just because people, this could apply to anybody. People with money do stupid things with money, doesn't make it right, right? The excuse of someone can't do it because they can do it, that's not really a logical excuse of any kind, because that kind of logic could literally be applied to people that are, well, criminals. Let's say people that are in certain papers called EP slash Steam files. Do you know what I'm talking about? Why did they do it? Well, because they're millionaires and they could do it. To me, I really don't subscribe to that kind of logic, because at the end of the day, something is either right or something is either wrong. Something is either pushing an idea in the wrong direction or pushing an idea in the right direction. And I do not subscribe to that kind of logic, guys. So I think I'm going to try to cut it. I changed my mind. I'm going to do washers. Let's see if it works. Got about 80 positive people here. I appreciate your comments, guys. But at the end of the day, something is either objectively right or objectively false. And claiming people have the money to do things justifies it. That's not actually how laws work, right? I'm sorry to tell you, that's not a reality. You could apply that kind of logic to World War II. Guess what? Germany had a ton of money, had a ton of resources. Were they right in their annihilation of other races? No, they were not. That's kind of what I'm talking about. You really have to open up your mind and examine ideas from multiple angles. Unfortunately, today, the reason a lot of very, very rich people get away with things, we're talking on the criminal level, like EP slash Steam stuff, the files, is because society has basically just become in a position where they believe because they're rich, they can do it. Because, well, they did something right in life, right? They're rich. Oh, they could do it. They're above the law. No, I'm sorry. I do not think that way. All right, so the question is, how many washers am I going to need? That kind of logic really could get you in some trouble. What's up there, Jester Angel, man? How you doing? You're just joining me in time. I'm putting the engine back in the Kyosho and doing some ethical discussions, People today really kind of afraid to make their position known. I'm not one of those people. This one's too small. So I'll probably need like a good 4 washers. I'll see if this works. It might work, it might not work. Listen, so a lot of this stuff is trial and error. Listen, you know, had stuff on the table, moved stuff around, lost a screw. What are you going to do? It happens. Well, that's not going to work either. This is going good. Probably about like 5 washers, maybe 4. I'll do a little comparison. But me personally, Dana, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Me personally, you have to really understand what is right and what is wrong. Doing things for just the sheer hype value, I don't believe in that. All right. I mean, that is like a lot of washers right there. I mean, will it work? It'll work. Will it look good? Probably not. It'll be fine. Let me just check. All right, so we're basically at the same level of the screws at this point. Right? Whatever, it'll do the job. You know, I could always remove it and put it back. It's not like the end of the world over here. If you like working on Nitro, there's nothing wrong with removing a pipe twice, right? Carl D, how you doing there, man? Just Angel, correct goes. Figure it out how you learn through trial and error. Well, let me tell you this. If I make a mistake now, I'll know definitely not what to do. All right, so let's get the engine in a little bit. And actually, no. Should I tighten the engine a little bit or get the exhaust in a little bit? See, I'm debating right now. Not master debating, just regular debating. Nothing wrong with debating. Or the other one. What's up there, Andre Lise, man? Thank you, man, for joining. You're just in time. I'm about to start assembling the engine and the pipe back in. We were also having a nice little ethical conversation, which I do appreciate. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to do a small little dab of this. You know, I have to clean it out. This stuff is a little on the dry side now. I've been using it for like 2 years, maybe. Time to pick up another one of these silicones. You don't need a lot. You just need like an average amount. I'm going to clean this up after. Yeah, this gasket, the reason I'm doing this is I can tell it's slightly hardened up. That's fine. Oh, Ryan Bollinger, how you doing? He goes, he ran the 2-speed baby T-Max, and it hit the 2. We're all happy for that, man. We're all happy. All right. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a solid repair, guys. I've done this many times. Yeah, that gasket is pretty proprietary. So it's real important that I let this get a little bit tacky first. Give it about maybe 2 minutes and we'll install it. Oh, Carl ran his NT18. That's the chassis small 18 scale Nitro right there. The one that today's video came out on, guys. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them as I work on here. Lawless, how you doing there, Lawless? Jester Angel here. It's not a bad suggestion. Jester goes, buy gasket material and make your own. I have gasket material. To be honest with you, bro, like, you know, these are really small parts. You could do that. There's nothing wrong with that, bro. Xavier, how you doing there, Xavier? But for me, personally, this kind of silicone works really, really well. I've never had any errors with it, right? And so far, it's done the job real well. But you're not wrong. People do make gaskets. Nothing wrong with that. I actually do have gasket material. But, you know, you need like, well, first of all, you could do it. I mean, it's going to take more time. It is doable, though. There's literally nothing wrong with doing that, right? So people watching this, yeah, you could make your own gaskets. Literally not a problem. Oh, Batty Life, how you doing there, man? I appreciate your comment yesterday. I learned a lot from that. Batty Life here made a couple good corrections of what I said yesterday. That's why I love my viewers. You guys are always looking out for everyone's best interest in terms of knowledge and understanding. And that is what matters to me. You know, people today get upset when they're corrected. Me, I learn when I'm corrected. And I take it as a positive. You know, when you correct someone's mistake positively, you're doing them a favor. That's what you're doing. All right, I'm going to start working on this, guys. It's kind of annoying the way I'm sitting, like on the side right here. Lasso Kid, man, thank you for becoming a new channel member. Although I know you're an old channel viewer. But that's sickening. Appreciate that, man. So I'm basically just attaching the exhaust back in right now. Well, trying to at least, to a degree. You know, also keep in mind, since I'm doing this literally like on the video, I have like a giant-ass light literally about 6 inches away from my face. You guys want me to show you the light I have 5 inches away from my face? Here. I'm going to flash you the light. There it is. That's my face. Say how you doing, face. And that's the light. So, you know, a lot of times the reason we have such great clarity is because I am sitting about 7 inches from a massive light at all times, in case you guys were interested. All right. Yeah, what's up, Mug? How you doing there, Mug? All right. Let's tighten it up. You guys watch any Instagram weightlifters? I've been getting hits for this one guy called Tank. All right, let me be careful over here. Basically, he just does a bunch of weightlifting stuff and just calls himself the Tank. That's basically the story. It's not that entertaining. All right. Gotta be careful over here. All right, once it lines up, all right, we got a line upper. We got to line up. We got to line up in the hole. Oh, yeah, the guy Anatoly is back. I don't know how they let him out of the Korean jail. I mean, he's back to doing scam TikToks. I mean, that guy's a con artist. Honestly, don't find him funny at all. Anatoly is exactly what is wrong with this world. All right, let's go to this side. Wasn't he in a Korean prison for like a good year? And I guess his rich family bribed the Korean officials. I don't see any other way. That's right, the weightlifting dude. Ryan Bollinger, the weightlifting dude. Okay. Gotta be real gentle over here. The reason I'm being gentle, I don't want to mess up that seal. All right, so far, things are going better than Anatoly. Hold on, it's Anatoly. No, that's not the guy. What's the guy that was in the Korean jail? All right, so far so good, guys. I mean, Hybrid's getting it done over here to a degree. Let me get the other screw from this side. Well, did Anatoly ever do 3 pull-ups with a primal MT? Because I did. When Anatoly does 3 pull-ups with an 80-pound primal MT, let me know. All right, it's pretty good now. Let me get this one. And I think we're going to bolt the engine in. Done, baby. Oh, Anatoly's the guy with the 30 kg mop. I wasn't talking about Anatoly. I was talking about another guy. Forgot what his name is. Let me go to Kick. Actually, no, I don't use Kick. That stuff is for tards. Sorry. All right. Kick is literally what's wrong with the world. Trump can't even ban it. Yeah, Lasso Kid got a good question. He goes, "Hey, Hybrid, should I buy the Savage SBK kit now, or will they drop in price?" Well, where are you going to get it from? They're not in stock anywhere that I know, unless you're talking about like AliExpress or something, which I don't really trust that at all. I don't know how they have them. It must be some kind of fake scams. So tell us where the Savage SBK kit is. Batty Life, thank you. He goes, I have the scanned PDF of the stickers. Oh, sick, man. It might come to that if I get the Lexan body, actually. It might come to that. Oh, eBay? Well, how much is it on eBay, Lasso Kid? I don't want to show it in case you want to buy it, so... But just put in the chat, I don't want to take your opportunity to buy something away. But I'm definitely not buying it, because I have a ton of Savages. So... Honestly, I would say if you can get like a used Savage XL, get a used Savage XL. There's literally zero benefit in terms of the kit. I mean, some people like building stuff. I don't know if a Savage is one of those cars that really needs to be built, right? It's like an RTR car type of thing. Like usually kits have better parts. This doesn't have anything better. So, oh man, the Savage is 720. Yeah, I would not buy that. With tax, you're going to be at like, bro, well, depending where you are. For me, I would be at close to $800. I would not buy it. I would definitely not buy that. All right. We got the engine in. Let's get the engine screws themselves mounted. For me, I would say no to that. But that's just me. I'm only one guy. How many screws do I need? But it seems like I've lost a couple screws over here, actually. All right, whatever. I'll figure it out later. What's up there, Maxwell? How you doing there, man? Oh, we got Paige here. How you doing? Yeah, they use some really weird... I gotta check which screws these are, my dudes. Yeah, Paige Smith, I'm just assembling the engine back into this Kyosho. That's about it, basically. You know, we had a couple discussions, and everything is fine. You know, I told people to give each other a break type of stuff. It seems like some of the two screws in the back are machine screws and the other two are not machine screws. That is like the oddest design I have seen. Why would they do that? So the rear uses machine screws, but the front of the mount uses regular coarse thread screws type of thing. That is some Kyosho wizardry, I guess. Let me check it out. All right, so engine is in. What I'm gonna do now is just test to see how our gear mesh. Okay, gear mesh is perfect. I could spin it. So check this out. I haven't connected it, but spur gear spins freely, you know, because the gear mesh, I didn't really touch it. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. I'm not going to be here much longer. Got to assemble the rest of this. I'm going to do this whole video. This car is honestly really long. It's kind of hard for me to work on here on the table and all these little things to move around. It's a little bit difficult. Let me see what the rest of you guys are saying. I'll answer a couple questions, and then I'll be on my merry way out, you know. But at the end of the day, remember, there's always a right and there's always a wrong. Maxwell goes, that is lovely mesh. That's right, bro. So I didn't take off the engine gear mesh plate, right? That's why you saw me kind of bolting the whole plate with the engine. That was a clever decision I made there. I'm a little bit proud of myself for that. By the way, guys, if you can, please go check out today's sickening X-ray video. Not much viewership on it. Am I disappointed? No. Do I have other nitros to make great again? Yes. Let me see if I could find the guy on Instagram I've been watching. Basically, he just does a bunch of weightlifting and says, tank. That's it, tank. Tarek, bro, thank you, man. There'll be a little bit more on this soon. Just, you know, I'm going to fix the rest of it. It'll be a runner. Basically, electronics are already, you know, good to go. The exhaust, we're going to wait till it seals up. And then we'll know whether we have, like, a massive leak or not, right? Oh, this guy. Let's see, this guy. This is who I was talking about. This guy. He's literally like close to a nobody, but, you know, he does a crazy amount of weight, this guy. Jester, man, I'll see you on the next one. I appreciate you, bro. Man, that's a lot. All right, Ben, you take care, bro. That's about it, guys. I mean, I got nothing else planned today. I think overall some pretty good work. Engine went in. Fuel tank went in. You know, we'll adjust the gear mesh. I'm sorry, the throttle trim when it's connected, and install the drive shafts back after that. Keith, how you doing? Keith, I'm going to answer your question. That'll be the last one. And last, okay, bro, thank you for becoming a new channel member again. All right, Keith Tolhurst goes, what's a good engine for a fit scale instead of a 23cc? All right, so guys, let me give you an update. I know we got a lot of Gas Gang members out here. Keith Tolhurst here got himself the first generation low CDB XL. It's a very nice chassis. Top favorite. Honestly, bro, pretty much any CY engine, they're called CY engine, will be very good. If you get like a regular CY 30cc or 32, like a Rover 32, you're going to be very, very happy, right? The modern last gen of the low seat trucks, before they got discontinued, they came with the Zenoa 32s. So, I mean, those are going to be more money. But if you just get like pretty much any Rovin or King Motors or pretty much any clone 30 or 32cc engine, you're going to be very happy. I would go for the 32. The 32 has a little bit better of a starting system called the Easy Start pull starter. All right, Lawless here goes with the 80cc twin. That's big bucks, bro. That's big bucks. But, you know, if you're on a budget, I would go with, you know, considering he's coming from a 23cc Dynamite. Mad Season, how you doing here, man? Happy to see you here. Long time, bro. I'm going to be here for a couple more minutes, just fielding a couple questions. You know, it's kind of the end of the stream right now. But I put the engine into the F1 Kyosho. So I think I did some work. Better than nothing. That's right, Mad membership for Mad Season of 48 months. If you do the math, that's 4 years, bro. That's very impressive. I am impressed. Melissa, she's so impressed, she might even pay for Taco Bell tonight. Wish me luck on that one, though, you know. Wish me luck on that one. That might not even happen. So, yeah, honestly, the best engine, if you're not really, you know, price is not an issue, will be the Zenoa 32. That's how you would get overall good reliability and good power. But if you got just like a Rovin 32 or a King Motor 30, you're not going to be upset, bro. I mean, you remember my old video with the HPI Baja? I pulled a whole freaking tree with a 30cc Baja. And it didn't even, like, let me down. A whole Christmas tree on the ground. All right? You're not talking about problems with with power even on that. I mean, coming from a 23cc, the 30 will blow you away. I mean, we're talking price conscious stuff here. All right, Keith Tolhurst goes under 200 bucks. I would say get a 32cc Rovin or something. Let me go online actually and check for you right now. Why? Because you're the man. So let's just go to Fearless RC. I mean, there's many websites you can get them, you know. Let me see. I see a good comment here from Batty Life. Let me come back to you, bro. Okay, I promise. Let me just show a couple engines. You know, there's like a lot of these engines are basically, there's a lot of clones of them. So the one I show, it doesn't mean you have to get it. It's just, we're just talking about specs. When it comes to specs, what matters is the CC displacement and whether it's HY or CY. That's very, very important. All right, so, you know, cost-wise, James, bro, thank you, man. You have a good night. All right, here's basically some of the engines on the Fearless RC website, you know, like cheapest to not cheapest. If you want to go real cheap, you can't go wrong with this 29cc for 100 bucks. I mean, that's going to be, trust me, still good. Not the best, but still good. If you go with a 32, I will go with something like this. Well, no, actually not the boost port one. Like this. Well, you would want like a 32 maybe, honestly. So as you get up there, it gets a little bit more. You don't need dual rings. You don't need any of that. Those actually just have lower RPM. This boost bottle, probably a waste of time. Yeah, their engines kind of went up a little bit. That's not a bad engine right here. I mean, this used to be like $100 engine right here, right? So I would stick with something in the 30 or a 32. Let me see. We got a question. Yeah, Dan and Mads goes, a 32 has been solid. Exactly. They're very good. RPM is kind of what you want. And the bigger the engines, the 45s, they don't have high RPM at all. All right, Batty Life goes, what do you think about the crawlers? Is my new rabbit hole and wasn't into because electric, but they have something about all the accessories. Yeah, so the way the electrics are, you know, I guess their goal is to get you to upgrade. It's kind of like WL Toys, all the cheap stuff. The goal is to get you to upgrade, right? Some people, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. People like upgrading, right? You like to see minimal performance advantages of whatever the hell, you know, stuff. Me personally, I don't like upgrading anything. Why? Because I think it's a waste of money for me, right? Doesn't mean it's a waste of money for you. Personally, I believe regular Red Cat Gen 8 crawlers or like a TRX4, whatever, they do the job well enough. So I would not go beyond like paying money on those things because honestly, you're not going to get any of it back, right? It depends what your outlook is. Let me see. So we have a question on, let me put in Baja gas engine. I'm going to look up Amazon. All right, so right now there's like a bunch of shipping issues on Amazon with these engines, believe it or not. All right. So let's take a look at Amazon just real quick before I bounce out of here. So here's a couple engines on Amazon we're just going to take a look at. So right now they seem cheap because they're really charging you $30 for delivery as well. Personally, I would go with something like, well, it depends how much you want to pay. So you see with delivery, it's like 134. They're all pretty much normal engines. Ricardo, bro, how you doing? They're all basically going to be clones of the Zenoa engines, really, is what it's going to come down to, right? FMLM 32, 152. That's a fair price. Right? These are pretty normal engines, and pretty much all fit scale engines are the same. Yeah, Michael Sucha goes the 38cc billet. That's a proper engine. I'm aware of that one as well. These are just like bottom of the barrel type engines. The main thing is they're all CY, meaning Chung Yang. Right, HY are kind of like the Red Cat ones. You don't want to get a Red Cat version. Trust me, you get a Red Cat version, you're gonna cry. In fact, would you take a look at that? That's a 290 with a Jado on top. All right, like I said, I'm never far away from a two-stroke, ever. All right, my dudes, I'll be here for like another minute. I appreciate you all. And I'm going to work on this tomorrow. Maybe do a little fire up in the daytime. Yeah, Lasso Kid goes, yes, the 45 hasn't got the same rev limit, but they can run taller pinions. That's true. So if you get a 45, they're not that much more money. Problem is you're going to need like way taller gearing. So now you're spending like another 30 or 40 on gears. You know, I've had a 45cc Baja on the channel, and I'll tell you this, they have crazy, crazy low power. They even wheelie. But do you really care about wheeling? Like, me personally, I don't care, right? I just don't care. Oh, Nitro Diction goes. Speaking of two-stroke, tune in Monday night. That's right, guys. If you're here, Nitro Diction here, a great channel member and viewer and friend, does great Monday streams and sometimes throughout the week as well. So make sure you're also checking out the Nitro Addiction because I know you guys are addicted to it. Hell, so am I. Yeah, so long ago, those gas engines were like super cheap. I got like a 32cc Robin for like $75 a couple times. You know, but now the prices kind of went up a little bit, especially like shipping issues. But generally, they're all kind of clones of the Zenoa motors anyway. All right, bros, that's about it. I will be back with you sooner or later. And keep in mind, there's always a right and a wrong. And try to be on the side of the righteous. That is the correct side. See you all next time.